Q. A lot of AP classes, you don't even cover it. There's no time. They're super easy as far as the format's concerned, especially if you did a DBQ before. If you've done a DBQ, you know how to do an SAQ, but today we're going to review it. So lock in. If you can't lock in, leave. Take a 0 and leave. So I am grading this as a test grade. The grade will close this Thursday. We're done. There's nothing else to turn in. Any zeros you got by Thursday, they stay in the grade book. There's no point in taking late work after the test. It defeats the purpose. All the work in this class is to prepare for the test. So these are your last few grades that are going into the grade book. In June, I got to give you a final, but it's super, super easy. It's an easy A. That'll be the last grade you get. It'll just be on how to graduate college. I'm going to give you guys a seminar and some lectures. We're going to make a game plan on how to graduate college. That'll be your final grade, but everything else is due by Thursday. So please lock in. You're getting a grade for this. This hour, I'm going to show you how SAQs work. The next hour, you're going to do one, and then for homework, you're going to do another one. So you should have SAQs down by tomorrow. Okay, so please take notes. I'm grading your notes. You're going to turn in your notes. You're going to turn in your notes on how to do an SAQ for a grade. Then you're going to have a practice test. As soon as I'm done lecturing, 6th hour, I'll put a spot in Schoology. You're going to take a picture of your notes. Don't give me the hard copy because you need them. I just want to see that you paid attention. That's all I'm looking for. And I'm going to count that as a grade.
Did you, are you going to put a folder for the notes for the 5 videos?
Oh, yeah. No problem. I'll do that 6th hour. Right now, let's get moving. You talking about what you did for homework? You talking about what you did for homework over the weekend? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll do that 6th hour. So 6th hour, you'll turn in your homework from the weekend and you'll turn in notes from this. Please lock in. We're almost there. You guys are doing better than you think. Shakedown's video on TikTok, I was watching it yesterday. It's very interesting. I think, even though he said it's his second choice, my number one guess, I think the DBQ will have something to do with tariffs. Because the College Board doesn't like Trump. Right. And I think they're going to want to make a point.
Really?
If I had to guess, who knows? But my number one guess, it would be the DBQ is going to have something to do with tariffs. So I'm going to go over that with you tomorrow. So this is the only day for SAQ, so please lock in. All right, start taking your notes. What is the SAQ? It's a short answer question. I'm going to give you my version real quick. You ready? You're defining a couple of vocab words, and then you're explaining it in your own words. That's all it really is. That's all it is. You're going to come up with 1 or 2 vocab words. You're going to explain it yourself. Done. Okay. This portion exam's 20% of your overall score. It should be an easy 20%. Now, like I was talking to Mauricio last hour, you don't have to get an A on this test. You're trying to get a C minus. Most of you are honor students. If you get a C minus, you're upset, right? Like that's not good. Everybody in here is capable of getting a C minus. Right? Your GPAs say so. Most of you, your GPA is higher than a C minus. We're only trying to get a C minus on Friday. That's it, guys. Mission accomplished. You get your college credit, saves you time and money. And the best thing about it is you've done the intellectual weightlifting necessary to graduate college. Kids that pass an AP exam, they graduate college at a much higher rate than kids that don't. So it's prepping you to graduate college. We don't want you to just visit college like a lot of our kids do. We want you to graduate. After the exam on Friday, I'll give you guys a couple of days off just to rest and relax, and then I'll start teaching you how to graduate college. That'll be next week or the week after. All right, so it's 20% of your overall score. Here's the thing, please have this in your notes. This is a mistake a lot of kids make because a lot of AP teachers don't have time to teach SAQs. They just don't get to it. They run out of time because they spend so much time on DBQs. When kids aren't familiar with this, they miss this part. You got 4 SAQs. You're going to do the first one. The first one is with a primary document. You guys know what a primary document is?
No. From exactly from?
Exactly like from the source,
Yeah.
right? So let's very good. So let's say the Declaration of Independence. Let's say they gave you a part of the Declaration of Independence. That would be a primary document. Everybody with me?
Yeah.
You have to do question number 1. Put that in your notes. You gotta do question number 1. Question number 2 is with a secondary source. What's a secondary source? A book is a secondary, a history book is a secondary source, right? It's not the actual document. So let's say the Declaration of Independence was written by who? Who wrote the Declaration of Independence? Thomas Jefferson. That's a primary document, the actual Declaration of Independence. A book on Thomas Jefferson, a biography on Thomas Jefferson, or a book explaining how he wrote it, that's a secondary source. You with me? There's primary and a secondary. So question number 2, they'll give you a secondary source, an excerpt from a book. You know what I mean? You with me? So that's a secondary source. Now 3 and 4, take notes, I'm grading the notes. 3 and 4, you pick one of them. Please put this in your notes. Common mistake kids make. They do 3 and 4. You don't have to. Just do one of them. Now 3 and 4, they don't give you a stimulus. There's nothing to look at. So it's from your memory, right? My lectures, Heimler videos, AP Classroom, all the stuff you learned this year. And don't forget, you learned stuff about U.S. history in 9th grade. And you learned stuff about U.S. history in middle school. And you learned stuff about U.S. history in grade school. You know more than you think, right? It's not just about stuff that I taught you. 3 and 4, what you do is you look at both, you go with the one that you know more about, right? Let's say 3 is, what's something I just say, like I did, what did we do the other day? Articles of Confederation, right? What was the main problem with Articles of Confederation? Weak what?
Central government.
Weak central government. Let's say 3 is about the Articles of Confederation. Let's say 4 is about something, you don't even know what it is. You're like, man, I don't remember Heimler talking about this. I don't remember Cruz lecturing about this. I don't remember AP Classroom videos covering this. I don't know anything about this. Then pick 3. You with me? That's why they give you an option. You go with what you're stronger with. Everybody with me? On an SAQ, you're not doing 3 and 4. You're just picking 3 or 4. Everybody with me? You're gonna do the first one, gotta do it. Second one, gotta do it. Then 3 and 4, you pick one. Capiche? It's a huge mistake kids make. And when they make that mistake, my buddy Kansas City John, the college board, they usually blame the teacher. Because the teacher didn't explain that to them. Because when you're in a hurry and you're rushing, you might skip that in the directions. That's why the first time you see it should not be the day of the test. It's just like I think Wednesday, Mauricio was doing a practice test earlier. I think Wednesday I want us to log into the computers and just do a practice test. I don't want the first time you see it to be the day, to be Friday. I've never seen it either. This is the first year I've done digital. It's always been on paper. So it's new for me too. All right. You must directly answer the question. You're going to label each part. It labels it for you. I'll show you. Again, it's like everything else. You already know this because you're DBQs. You got to be specific. Be specific. Write that in your notes. Same problem with DBQs. If you're not specific, you might not get the point. Be specific. And you have to explain your answer. I'm going to show you the way I do it. Hopefully you did your homework. Heimler uses T. You guys see that in the video? TEA?
Topics, incidents, evidence, and analyze.
Very good. Now, if you like the way Heimler does it, use his way. I'm going to show you the way I do it. I use something different. It's called ACE. It's not that, I mean, it's kind of the same thing, but I like ACE better.
Answer the question, sign it.
Yeah, I'll show you. I'm going to show you ACE. You do what you, if you like the way Heimler explains it better than the way I explain it, then go with Heimler. Do it the way that makes sense to you. But here's what you don't do. You don't write a whole paragraph. This is super easy. One sentence for each part. You're good. This is quick. It's called short answer questions for a reason. They're super short. You could just use, very, very specific short sentences, but you don't want to have just bullet points or fragments, something just hanging there, right? Okay, look at this. Please look at the screen. This is from the rubric from the College Board. So the first one is going to be a secondary source. Periods 3 through 8, somewhere in there. 2, you're going to compare or causation. It's periods 3 through 8, somewhere in there. 3 or 4, now this is the thing. Periods 1 through 5 will be question 3. Periods 6 through 9, question 4. I would say, if I was a kid taking this test, I'm probably going to pick 4 because 6 through 9 is what you learned most recently, right? I did do some reviews, right? We just reviewed 6 too, right? So keep that in mind that number 4 is the more recent stuff. If I was taking this test, I'm probably going to do 4 because I'm probably going to remember that because it's more recent. Period 1, we did way back in September. All right. Analyze a secondary source. Now, here's a nice thing about question 1 and 2. They give you something to work with. It's like the stimulus-based multiple choice. You don't have to memorize everything. That's why we didn't have to read the whole textbook, right? Let's say you get to the SAQ, you're fried. You've done everything else. Question 1 and 2 give you something to work with. You know what I mean? If you skip 3 or 4, it's better than skipping the whole thing. At least get 1 and 2 done because it gives you something, right? If your mind's just blanking or you're exhausted because you just finished your DBQ, you know what happens. Paisan, did you tell me did you do the SAQ last year? Oh, you did do it? Okay, it was last, right? Yeah. Who was it? Was it Tristan? I think Tristan didn't do it. Tristan fell asleep a couple years ago. I think Tristan, Miss Strong's son. You guys know Miss Strong? Miss Strong, the math teacher? Her son, nice kid, he dead ass fell asleep. Didn't even do the SAQ. He was exhausted. He still passed with 3. You know Tristan, right? He still passed with 3. Tristan knew his DBQ. So what I'm saying is don't skip the whole thing. If your brain's fried and you're tired, at least do 1 and 2 because you got something to lean on. You can lean on that secondary source. You can lean on the primary document, right? It helps you answer the question even if your mind blanks. And then 3 and 4, if you're like, I got nothing. Either you're exhausted or it's, and a lot of it is luck. I hate to say it. Last year, I didn't teach AP US History last year. Last year I did World History. But last year's AP US History exam, the DBQ was on slavery. So it was like, everybody did good. You know what I mean? Every kid in America did good on that. We've been learning about that since grade school. They're not supposed to try to be looking to screw you up or trick you. You know what I mean? But a lot of there is some luck involved with what they ask us. Nobody knows everything. Just do the best you can. Don't leave anything blank. Try not to skip anything. So this is the way it's set up. So let's look at it. So look at this is primary document. You see that? It's a quote, right? You don't have to know who these people are. All right, I got 2 history degrees. I've taught college for 20 years teaching history. I've never heard of this person. I have no idea who this is. Never heard of it. Doesn't matter. I'm using what's in the document. You guys know when you cheat using Wikipedia to plagiarize something? It's like they're letting you cheat. These documents are like Wikipedia. You get what I'm saying? You can lean on the documents. I have no idea who that is. Doesn't matter. So answer A, B, and C. Briefly, so you guys see how it's A, B, C? Briefly describe one major difference. Briefly explain how one specific historical event or development. Briefly explain how one specific development during a period that is not to be mentioned in the excerpts could be used to support limited interpretation. A and B, the answer's in there. You don't have to know anything about anything. You with me? A and B, the answer's in here somewhere. You have to infer. Your English teachers teach you how to infer, right? Yes? Isn't that a term English teachers use? Yes? No? Yes? I think we mentioned this the other day. What was the joke the other day? I said, it was the first day of school, you never met me before. As soon as you walk in, before I say a word, what can you infer about my diet?
You're
Probably a nicer way to say it, though.
You're chubby.
Your big back.
So you just infer. So A and B, you can cheat big time. If you're totally blanking or you're exhausted, right? Because you're just tired. You're like, I'm done, bro. I'm checked out. You can at least do A and B because you don't have to know anything about anything. You're just taking info out of here. You with me? C is where something should click from my lectures, Heimler, AP Classroom, right? At the very least, do A and B. You guys with me? You get what I'm saying? So at the very least, do A and B. You should do C. Now, the thing with C is this. One vocab word is enough. Just something that's relevant to this. You with me? If you have knowledge of one vocab word, one event, one person, your money, because this is short. You with me? I think one problem kids have with SAQs, they don't understand how it's not a big deal. Like they want to make it bigger than it is. You know what I mean? It's really not a big deal, especially compared to a DBQ. So does everybody understand the A, B, and the C? All right. Now, the second one. Causation or comparison. Do you guys know what that means, causation? The College Board loves this word, but do we know what it means? Can you explain it a little more?
Like of how it happened?
Yeah, very good. So, like a baseball term. What causes a batter to swing way too early and screw themselves in the ground? What kind of pitch?
Like a curveball.
Yeah, if you just threw me a heater, right, at 90 miles an hour, and then he lets off the next pitch, on purpose you're throwing it 75 miles an hour, like a breaking ball. I'm sitting on a fastball, right? The second I see that ball come out of your hand, I'm going to swing, right? So I'm trying to keep up with your fastball. You do what they call a changeup, right? You change the velocity. I'm swinging. I swing right through it. Now the ball comes because you slowed it down, right? What caused me to swing so early? That fastball you just threw me, right? I have to guess what you're going to pitch. What caused me to swing through it, they say you screw yourself in the ground, is you taking 15 miles an hour off of that pitch, right? I'm trying to time a fastball. Causation, something that causes something, right? All right. Comparison, you compare and contrast something, right? I'm going to compare this thing to that thing. If you compare the Articles of Confederation with the Constitution, one big difference is the Constitution gave us a strong central government, the Articles gave us a weak central government, right? You with me? Something they had in common, they were meant to be the backbone of our government for this new country called the United States. All right. So let's look at a sample from question 2. So let's say you got this, it could be like a cartoon like this, right? Post-Civil War image. Post. Briefly describe one perspective about citizenship expressed in the image. Did somebody say Jim Crow back there? Did I hear somebody say Jim Crow? Yes?
Yeah.
Very good. So that's all you got to do. That's what I mean. You guys are smarter than you think. Mauricio came in here saying he's nervous about the test. As soon as I showed you this, you saw post-civil, boom, he goes, Jim Crow. That's all you got to do. You got to pass this thing. If you can do that, you're going to pass the test. Right? Jim Crow popped in his head. So, briefly describe one perspective about citizenship expressed in this image. Briefly explain one specific historical development that led to the change depicted in the image. Briefly explain one way in which historical change depicted in the image was challenged in the periods 1866 to 1896. All right, we're going to go over it. Right now, I just want you to understand the format. You get what I'm saying? You choose to answer either the third or the fourth. So question 3 is period 1 through 5, 1491 to 1877. So if you're going to have one if it's on the Civil War, it's probably going to be question 3. You with me? If it's Reconstruction, it's definitely going to be question 4, right? Right? 1865 to present. World War I would definitely be question 4.
Mister,
Yeah.
are you recording
Yeah.
your lecture?
Why?
No.
Yeah, just send it to the.
Are you sure you pressed the button?
Yeah, I'm looking right at it. Why did they text you?
Are you recording your face or the screen?
The screen.
Okay.
Why?
No, I gotta make sure, mister. No one wants to
Are you
see
sure
that.
it's recording?
Yeah, I'm looking right at it.
Are you sure? You see the red dot?
Yeah.
You got
Look.
Oh, it is.
Okay, thank you. Why did the kids text you to see if I forgot?
No, I was checking.
Okay,
Because didn't you do that last time? You
I think I
did the
did.
recording?
Don't point out my mistakes.
Okay.
10 points off. So this is what I like to use. I like to use ACE. So please put this in your notes. You ready? The A stands for answer the prompt. Make a claim. It's like a thesis, right? So A, answer the prompt. It's like a thesis. It's pretty much the same as a DBQ.
In the video, the other one was answer the question, C was for citing, and then E for evidence for A's.
Right. That's what video was that?
The guy that says, hello, beautiful people.
Yeah.
Video part.
I want you to pick the one that makes more sense to you. I like Ace. I like Ace better than T. Yeah. All right. E, explain. I'm sorry. C, cite evidence. C, cite evidence. E, explain the connection. Guys, please lock in. Please. Don't tell me I didn't teach you SAQs. All right. C, cite evidence. E, explain the connection. Finish answering the prompt. All right. So let's go back to this. You ready? So here's an example. Look how short, first of all, look how, before I even get into it, look how short the answers are, guys. This is not a DBQ.
Let's see.
You see how short it is? All right. Answer the prompt. In this case, this is a question about an argument within the source. Create a beginning sentence using the question itself, then add in your claim as the answer. This is where the pictures can be a little tougher than getting a reading passage. You know what I mean? Because you have to infer a lot when you see a picture. One perspective about citizenship in this image is that giving freed men, African Americans, the right to vote allowed them to become full citizens of the U.S. following the Civil War. Cite evidence. One example to support this perspective is that in the image, freedmen of all backgrounds, given the right to citizenship and voting in the 14th and 15th Amendments. Why do you know that? Did we do any assignments on the amendments? Yes, no, maybe? So do you understand my logic here? I know copying down, guys, listen please. I know copying down all the amendments is a hassle, but they come up so much, and there's so many times you can use them. The amendments by itself could almost get me through an entire, I could use that for all my FRQs, you know? I can find an amendment for almost any prompt. You get what I'm saying? All right. Explain the connection. This image suggests that voting is one of the most important and revered civic duties of an American, no matter your background, because it gives all people a voice. That's so easy. It's just in your own words, right?
Yeah.
It's just your own words as long as you're on topic. You with me? Answer the prompt. Cite evidence, explain the connection. This is kind of like doing a thesis. You don't want to be, if you ask me where I'm going for lunch and I say Monday. Today's Monday. Is today Monday?
Yeah.
It is. It's a
So it's
true
Thursday.
statement, right? But
No,
what's the
sir, it's Thursday.
what's the problem?
Wait, so explain the connection is like the connection between the prompt and the evidence?
Yeah, the prompt, the evidence, and the whatever this is, the stimulus, right? In this case, so you're connecting it with your own words. You're showing how it's connected, right? Right? You're showing how it's connected. This image says that voting is one of the most important and revered civic duties of man, no matter your background, because it gives all people a voice. That's easy. You guys can do that. And here's the other thing. It's not like a math class. This isn't the only right answer. There's a million ways to answer that, right? As long as you're right. Just don't do this. Don't do, hey, where are you going for lunch? Today's Monday. Okay, today's Monday, but that's not what I asked you, is it? Right? Just don't be way off. Don't do a drive-by. Answer the prompt. Include specific, relevant historical evidence to support your answer. Don't quote. You see how it's like a DBQ? Right? Doesn't this all sound familiar, right? You know this. All right, let me show you this other one that I made. I'll get my glasses.
You get 40 minutes on the SAQ and then 20 on the multiple choice and then
All right,
Did you get all of them right?
Do you know exactly how long it's gonna take? Like for the whole
3 hours.
3 hours.
There's 3 hours total.
What's gonna take 3 hours?
The test.
Oh, even worse. How long is your lecture?
Hopefully I'll be done by the end of this hour. Then next hour you're gonna do an SAQ. You're gonna do an SAQ. All right, shh. Guys, we gotta get moving. Guys.
She on her girlfriend with the dude in the. Well, how did that work?
Shakedown. You got it. You have to get better at etiquette. Guys, listen.
Social cues.
Guys, listen. This is what a lot of our kids mess up in college. You got to understand there's a time to listen, there's a time to talk. Right now you listen. You got to grow up a little bit. You don't have to be smarter. Just grow up and learn some social etiquette. Then you can talk. When we're done. You're going to do an SAQ together. You can help each other. All right. So I like ACE, ACE. If you like the way Heimler does it better, do it Heimler's way. I'm just giving you a couple of options. So you know all this. You're going to have 40 minutes for the SAQ. Somebody just asked me how long the total test is. 3 hours total. But you got 40 minutes on the SAQ. I don't think an SAQ even takes 40 minutes.
Do we move at our own pace, or is it all together?
I wish I could answer that because it's online. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it's going to let you only do one thing at a time. I'm not sure how they're doing it. I hope not. It worked out better because some kids would finish an SAQ super fast and they could actually use more time on a DBQ. Answer the question. Cite specific evidence, and then just explain how it supports your answer. So all you're doing, answer the question. You guys don't want to answer a question. You've been answering questions your whole life, right? Answer a question. Then you just got to cite specific evidence. You're just showing that this isn't something you just made up, right? On question 1 and 2, they give you a stimulus. So look here, see where I'm pointing? Use the stimulus. There's your evidence, right? Then you just explain, how does that support your answer? How are they connected? Right? Directly respond to the prompt. Be clear and concise. Make sure you understand what it's asking you, just like a DBQ thesis. When you cite it, you provide relevant historical facts. Be specific. If you can include names, dates, places. Choose evidence that strongly supports your answer. Don't talk about something that's not related. If you can, try to get 2 pieces of evidence. Connect it back to your answer. You know how to do this from DBQs. All right, let's look at a sample. Explain one way in which the Great Depression affected American society in the 1930s. The key words: explain, one way, and affected. The question focused on social impacts, not economic or political. All right, so here's a sample. One way the Great Depression affected American society in the 1930s was, you see how you're just kind of restating the question there? You're not, this makes you sound smarter than you are, right? You're just stealing it from the question, right? By causing widespread unemployment. You knew this before you walked in this class in September. You knew during the Great Depression people lost their jobs. You knew that before you walked in here. You don't need me, Heimler, or AP Classroom to tell you that. You already knew that. You guys are smarter than you think you are. This test is easier than you think it is. Don't psych yourself out. You already knew that. This right here, you guys probably knew this in middle school. All it's saying is, I'm talking about the Great Depression. I didn't start talking about the Civil War. I didn't start talking about the Cold War, right? I'm addressing the prompt. Simple. Okay. Let's say you're not even sure. Maybe a little foggy. This helps you figure it out. This is a very powerful picture. Look, there's no way like the American way. And you got a family in here. What do you know about this family compared to people that are in line? Either probably in line to get food or some kind of social, right? Some help socially, right? They're not in a car, are they? They're on foot. So by 1933, approximately 15 million Americans were unemployed, which is about 30% of the workforce. This led to the creation of Hoovervilles. So Herbert Hoover, and Heimler talked about this in the video if you watched it for that unit. Hoovervilles were like these shanty towns. People lost their homes, got kicked out of their apartments. So it was like, when homeless people build like a tent, you know what I mean? Like in the middle of a field or a parking lot. That's all it is. What does that mean to explain? Now this is like really, really good answer. It doesn't even have to be this good. This massive unemployment rate and resulting poverty directly illustrate the social upheaval caused by the Great Depression. Families were forced to abandon their homes and live in desperate conditions, fundamentally altering the social fabric of American society. The emergence of Hooverville symbolizes the breakdown of traditional community structures and the creation of new improvised social networks among the unemployed and homeless. That sounds great. That sounds impressive. That sounds smart. Let me tell you all this really is. You took one freaking vocab word, Hoovervilles, and you just expanded on it. You guys are experts at this. When you don't know much about something, you guys know how to BS your way through an essay and just like expand and exaggerate, and you beat that horse to death, right? That one thing you know because you forgot everything else. That's all you're doing is connecting one vocab word to the prompt, and you're elaborating. You with me? Elaborating on that. One vocab word, one event, one person, that can give you enough ammo to get through this because it's short. Short answer question, right? All right, let's just try another one. Explain one way in which the civil rights movements in the 1950s and 1960s affected American politics? Explain one way and affected. One way the civil rights movement affected American politics was by pressuring the federal government to pass landmark civil rights legislation, fundamentally changing the legal landscape of the nation. You guys knew this before you walked into my class. You guys ever studied the civil rights movement? You said you did. Rosa Parks, Dr. King, right? Right? Malcolm, you knew this before you walked in here. This is just a really fancy way to say it, but you already knew that. Go with what you know. Have more confidence in yourself. That's easy. And the one you do, yours doesn't even have to be that good. They'll give you the point. You okay? It doesn't have to be that good. The movement led to the passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which prohibited discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, and national origin. The Voting Rights Act. Gee, how would you know this? Again, what does this remind you of, guys? What was that boring assignment? I made you copy a lot. The amendments. Once again, just knowing the amendments comes in handy. I really think I could do any FRQ, an SAQ, an LEQ, or a DBQ. If all you give me is the amendments, I could make that work. If you made a special rule for me, I can only use the amendments, the 27 amendments of the Constitution, to address all my FRQs. I think I could do it with almost any one you give me. You guys get what I'm saying? Because it applies everywhere. Now, how do you support it? These legislative acts demonstrate the profound impact of the civil rights movement on American politics. By successfully advocating for these laws, the movement compelled the federal government to take a more active role in protecting civil rights. That's a really fancy way to say it. You already know this, right? Civil rights movement forced the government to treat African Americans, on paper, it's supposed to be treating them equally, but they're still not treated equally, right? But on paper, at least they got some rights, and you're passing some laws. You already know this. You knew this in middle school, right? You could have done this in middle school. You already have everything you need. The only difference was in middle school, you probably never heard of an SAQ. Don't let the SAQ fool you. You're just answering a question. That's all. You've been answering questions since you were in kindergarten, right? You're just answering a question, a short, little brief answer. Don't let this SAQ thing intimidate you. Don't let it, because it's an AP exam, don't let it intimidate you. It's asking you a question, just answer. You've been doing that your whole life. You know how to do this. The shift represented a significant change in relationship between the federal government and states regarding civil rights enforcement, altering the balance of power in American federalism. This is a college graduate answering. You don't have to be anywhere near that good. For teaching purposes, it's teaching you, it's a proper answer. This is a college graduate answering it. You don't have to be anywhere near that good. You'll get the point. So go over the method. But now here's the thing. And you watch videos over the weekend, right? That was like the stretching before the workout. I lectured on it. So this is like your first set. The real learning takes place as soon as I'm done and you get frustrated and make mistakes because you're going to do an SAQ today. You with me? You're going to do one in class, then you're going to do one at home. That's when it'll really click. So we talked about this, secondary sources. So it's going to be like an excerpt from a book, right? So here's this book. They give you a little excerpt from it. Explain one way in which industrialization in the late 19th century affected American society. Now, the nice thing about this one is, let's say you blank. I don't know. You can blank on 1 and 2, and you're still in it. Please put that in your notes. You can blank on question 1 and 2, And you can still get it because they're giving you a stimulus. Everybody with me? So if your brain's fried and you can't even remember what your name is, you can still do 1 and 2. It's giving you something. It's almost like cheating, right? When they give you a document now, or even in an essay, in a DBQ, it's like they're helping you cheat. So industrialization led to significant changes in labor and social structures. A. Right? What's A stand for? A little louder? Right. Just look at one sentence, guys. You with me? One sentence. Industrialization led to significant changes in labor and social structures. Didn't I talk about the Industrial Revolution? Right? Didn't Hyman talk about the Industrial Revolution? You learned about Industrial Revolution, that's great on top of that. You know that. One sentence. The new industrial state, Galbraith argues. Now, this person sounds smart, right? No. You may never have heard of this guy. It doesn't matter. You're staring at the document. You're just using what they gave you, right? You're repeating what they gave you. You don't have to know anything about anything. You're citing evidence. In other classes, that's called cheating. When you copy something from Wikipedia, right? They say that's cheating. This is like you're cheating, but it's okay. You're just using what they gave you. You don't have to know anything about anything. Then just support it. This supports the idea that industrialization reshaped social hierarchies. Okay, you ready, guys? Isn't E just restating A? Look at E. Am I not just putting this in a different, this kind of switching up a little bit? Isn't E kind of saying the same thing as A? You see? You with me? That's simple. Now, sometimes some teachers will teach ACEs. So I don't want to confuse you, but you kind of reinforce it. Indeed, the rise of middle management and specialized roles and factories alter traditional class structures. But really, A, E, and S, you just repeated the same thing. You made the same point, just in a different way. You with me? This is super short, super direct. Get in, get out. Don't overthink the SAQ. And if you're on fumes, you're exhausted from taking the exam, at least just knock out 1 and 2 because they give you something to work with, right? Don't skip the whole thing. If you're just exhausted, or sometimes, depending on the DBQ, you might mean, I nailed that DBQ. I know I did. It's still 20, this is still 20% of your grade. At least get half of it or 2/3 of it, right? If you answer 1 and 2, you got 2/3 of the point. You with me? That's 66%. So you still get most of it. To get a 3, you only need 70% total. So even if you don't answer 3 and 4, and you answer 1 and 2, you're good. I'm not saying if you can do 3 or 4, freaking do it, right? But I'm saying if you're tired or your mind blanks, at least do 1 and 2. What you don't want to do is say, I'm just going to skip the whole thing. Now you just gave away 20%. At least get the low-hanging fruit. I know, in DBQ too. You can pass this exam just getting the low-hanging fruit on everything. You're not going to know all the multiple choice. You're not going to get all the points on the DBQ probably. Just get what you can and get out. Please put that in your notes. This is great advice right before the exam. Get what you can and get out. Get what you can and get out. You guys stress yourselves out and you think you got to be perfect. You think you got to do everything. No, we're just trying to get a 3. It sounds good to get a 5, but the rewards that you get, you just need a 3. So you don't have to take history in college. You saved yourself money and time. We don't have to get an A on this. All right, so this is the primary source, like a political cartoon, right? Answer, cite, explain. The cartoon reflects growing violence over slavery expansion. I could literally get a 6th grader to tell me that. You're looking right at it, right? Cite. This is in it. It's underneath in the caption. You're using it to cheat. Connect to the Kansas-Nebraska ad. Said Kansas underneath. We talked about this, didn't we? Bleeding Kansas? You remember some old fat guy lecturing about this last week? Yes? No? Right? You know what I mean? So something pops in your head. Oh, yeah. So one thing might be, oh, yeah, Cruz talked about this. Or the next, oh, yeah, that was in a Heimler video. Oh, yeah, that was in AP Classroom. Or, oh, yeah, I learned that doing a DBQ. When you practice DBQs, you're also learning content. Right? Now, you can't Google stuff on the test. Everybody should know that. The reason I let you Google stuff is because you're learning content, right? And also, please put this in your notes. Look over the hip sheet and the step-by-step guide one more time before Friday, because you can't use them on the test. At this point, you don't need them. Who can give me one sentence stem on the hip sheet without looking? Give me one. Somebody give me one. The purpose of this article was to give me one. The author's point of view. Give me one. Somebody give me one. Give me one from the hip sheet. During this time. See, you did it. You guys are smarter than you think you are. Look, here's my problem. Here's your problem. Look how hesitant you guys are. You guys doubt yourselves so much. You guys are way smarter than you think you are, and this test is not as hard as you think it is, and college is not as hard as you think it is either. Right? A lot of you guys psych yourselves out. You knew that. Right? Without looking at the hip sheet. So you already know. Try to have 3 go-tos at least 3 on the hip sheet. Pick your 3 favorite. During this time, I like that one. That's easy. The author's point of view was, you know what I mean? Pick 3 good ones. You don't have to memorize the whole hip sheet. All right. Okay, look. Can we shut the music off? Whoever got music on? What is that? What's that noise? All right. In 1854, this 1854 cartoon reflects the increasing violence and tension over slavery. The image depicts. What are you doing here? You're describing a picture. You could have done that when you were 6 years old, right? Bleeding Kansas is in the cartoon on the bottom. Hopefully that triggers my lecture from last week, right? You with me? All right, so here's the deal. Heimler taught you. You watched a couple other teachers over the weekend introduce SAQs to you. Heimler taught you T. Now, I just showed you ACE, right? If you pick the one you like better. If you like T better, do T. If you like ACE, do ACE, right? Doesn't matter. Go with what I just wanted to show you something different in case you like that better. Okay? Me personally, I like ACE. Now, here's where you really learn. Now you're gonna mess up, you're gonna make mistakes. Now on paper in the grade book, this is an exam. It's gonna look like you took this big test, right? Because don't forget, next to passing the test, you want to get an A in this class, right? So I'm counting this as an exam grade. But you can work together. Now, you're going to go to page 428. So get your workbook, go to page 428. You can work together. Now, here's where I sound like a jerk. I'm not going to help you on purpose. I want you to make mistakes. I want you to get frustrated now instead of making mistakes and getting frustrated on Friday. Excuse me. So I'm not gonna help you yet. So this is due at the bell. On the real test, you got 40 minutes. For SAQ, today you got an hour. So you're getting it. You're getting an extra 20 minutes. Your homework, you're gonna do it on your own. So you went from watching videos to listening to me, trying one with your group, and then trying it on your own.
Wait.
Right? You gotta crawl, then walk, then jog, then run. Right? For homework, you're gonna do page 478. Your homework, you're gonna turn it in as soon as you walk in tomorrow. Everybody good? All right, so right now, listen. Lock in. I don't want to hear nothing about, hey, mister, I got this thing. No, right now, there's nothing going on but SAQ practice test, page 428. It counts as a real exam in the grade book. Everybody with me? This counts as an exam in the grade book.
So when the day comes, you said we have 3 hours, right?
Friday.
So would we not do our second hour? How does that work?
No, you're gonna be here like till 11:30, 12 o'clock. I guess I'll know what I'm gonna ask.
What happens if, so is that exactly at 8? We gotta be 8 on time?
Yeah, oh yeah. By the way, hey guys, listen. I think 8:15 is the cutoff. Hey guys, this is important. Listen. I know it's a Western thing. It's a Southwest thing. No, listen. I know first hour. A lot of us stroll in at 8:30, 8:45. I've never understood this, but it is what it is. You can't do that this Friday. They won't let you in. They will not let you in the testing room.
Wait, after what?
If you're late, you can't get in.
So you gotta come before 8?
You be here this Friday, join the real world, and be on time. Okay? Seriously. I've never understood this Southwest tradition, even back when I was a kid. Friday, join the rest of planet Earth and be on time. Okay? Everybody with me? All right.
I'm in another one. So Friday, I'll be.
All right. So listen, everything else, please listen. And this is one thing I noticed with you guys all year. Focus on what's in front of you. There's nothing going on right now but page 428. I don't want to hear anything about anything else. Lock in. You got a question about your grade, this or that. Once the test is over, listen, on Monday, you guys can relax. I'll be back here grading everything. Everything you turned in, I'm going to grade it.
When do they when we take the test, how long does it take for us to get the results? Actually, you can answer that next
July.
Actually, time to go.
First week in July. We all see it. If you can look it up, you'll get an alert in your email. So will I. I think it's like July 3rd or 4th or 5th.
Why did you leave my team message on red?
What are you talking about?
I texted you Friday and you left me on red.
Oh my God.
Kind of rude.
Okay.
Are you still recording?
Yeah. Well, then
I was gonna
the other 21.